Ever feel exhausted, unmotivated, or completely off and have no idea why? In this episode, we talk about the 4 phases of your menstrual cycle, how we've started tracking our own, and why syncing your life to your body's rhythm might actually be the key to avoiding burnout. Before we dive into today's episode, have you grabbed your free copy of the Female Body Awareness Kit yet? If not, girl, you are missing out. This isn't your average PDF download. We are talking juicy checklists, hormone-friendly hacks, and real-life routines to help you feel in sync with your body. Whether you're navigating PCOS, endo, or just not quite feeling like yourself, think of it as a survival guide we wish we had years ago. And yep, it's totally free. Just head to our website or tap the link in the show notes to snag yours now.
Hey, Ames.
Hey, Britt.
I was going to ask, what season are you in today? Because last week you weren't in a very good season, mate.
No. I actually was thinking about this morning. Yeah. Like, I feel as though this podcast is definitely therapy for the both of us.
Oh, 100%.
I'm opening up to feeling more, or just being more, what would you call it? I wouldn't say vulnerable, but more talkative of my emotions. I don't know. I don't know what you would say.
I think we've definitely been both doing that. That's for sure. Like, we never, ever spoke about ourselves. Like, hardly ever. Anyone I would go into the office, and I remember one of the guys would be like, "Yes, so tell me why." There is no freaking why. Just do your job. I don't want to know about me. Like, don't ask me about me.
And that is why she's at this particular specific job. I know, because like when people normally say how I am, I always just go, "Yeah, I'm great. Yeah, I'm great."
Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah, really good. Don't worry about me. What about you? That's what you normally do. Don't worry about me. Like, I have first world problems. Like, don't worry about me. What about you?
Oh, you're an idiot. But going back to my season today, I would say I am in a vulnerable season. I'm in like a cuddly season, you know?
Oh.
You know, when you have your period, you're like, love me.
Do you have anyone to cuddle, or you just put on your hoodie, mate?
Woody, I have never, ever. I remember my sister used to come out with her Woody. She used to spend like half of a day in a Woody, and I was like, what are you doing? Like, I
have an hoodie, worn it once, but it's a Friends one because I'm obsessed with Friends. My husband bought me one.
As in Friends, the show Friends.
Yeah, TV show. And on that note, everyone, I was really pissed off last week because I couldn't watch it. It's my zone out show, and I couldn't watch it because it's been taken away from Netflix, Binge, Stan. It's gone. You have to pay for it now. And
I
then
didn't
I found
even realise
it on
that.
Plus. Yeah.
Oh wow, I think next week you're gonna have to show everyone who watches it on YouTube. This is a podcast.
Yeah, that's so
the
good.
Woody.
I will. I'll wear it.
100%. But yeah. Anyway, enough about me. What about you? What season are you in today, Britt?
Look, I'm coming off the end of my cycle, so like my period. So I'm feeling quite like my energy is just not quite there, if you know what I mean.
Okay.
But it's also because I've been not really eating red meat, so I just feel like I'm a little bit low there.
Mm-hmm. Is there a reason why you're not eating that red meat?
Well, yes. When I went to the colonic that I went to, and I did the cleanse, she kind of said stay away from red meat at the moment. Just let your body completely flush itself out. Just stick to like chicken and fish. So that's what I've been doing. So yeah, that's why.
Look at you go, mate. Maybe you might steer towards being a vegetarian soon.
No. I love curry and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, we're just rattling, so let's just get into it, hey?
Yeah.
I think the topic is pretty good for us at the moment because I've just had my period. Amy is on hers and she's in a lovely mood, guys. So just make sure if you speak to Amy the next day or so, just give her a little bit of love, okay? Now,
that makes me feel sick. But thanks, Britt. I appreciate it.
So we're going to be talking about the four phases within the menstrual cycle. And I know I haven't really done a lot of research on it, but like I know Ames has done it in the last couple of months, especially after she got diagnosed with endo, and she does a lot of exercise, etc., just to kind of get familiar with her body. So Ames, like what, just so we can tell everyone about it, what are the four stages?
Yeah, so the first stage is like the menstrual stage. So that essentially is depending, what I'm going off here is an article that we'll put in our show notes as well, but everyone is different, but essentially the menstrual stages of like your like day 1 to 5. So that's like when you have your period, and generally in this phase you're, I guess, really low energy, and you're, I guess they suggest to do kind of rest or gentle movement, so to speak. Your second phase is what they call like your follicle phase, which this is after your period. So this is like where did you say you're finished or you're about to finish?
No, I've kind of just about to finish. So it's like, towards the end. So I would say I would be in that phase right now.
Well, so this is where, so like your follicle phase is after your period. So this is where your energy starts to build. And this is a really good phase for like great workouts. So they tend to say that this follicle phase is between 6 to 14 days. You might be starting to head that way. Whereas say, for example, me right now, I'm on my first day. So I've just started the menstrual phase.
Yeah, okay, because I like the follicle phase kind of makes sense because that's when like your body is getting ready, obviously, to like grow all of your eggs, etc., before it releases before ovulation. Is that right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So you then have your ovulation phase, like you said, and that tends to be, again, like between 15 and 17 days. Now, again, this is what this article's saying. Disclaimer, we're both obviously no experts here.
No.
And everyone is different, right?
Yeah.
But this is where it's mid-cycle, your peak energy, and like you've got a lot of strength. So when it comes to exercise, this is really like I guess, a fantastic phase to really go hard. And then you've got like the luteal phase. Now this phase is just before your period. So they do suggest like to do more slower paced exercises. Your mood shifts a lot during this phase as well, which is where you can get like last week I was a bit more of in a C mood. And that's where you start to, I guess your emotions are quite high. And this is, I guess, between your 18 to 28 days, so to speak.
Yeah, and this is like, I suppose, like for myself, I've only just in the last couple of months like had a little bit more regular cycle, so I'm kind of actually understanding these phases a little bit more, and I can go, like actually not last week, the week before, I was absolutely rooted, but I did push myself, and I remember calling you, and I said, hey, what phase am I in right now? Because I'm about to go to the gym, and I feel exhausted. Should I do it? Remember? And then you're like, just do a light walk, like keep it gentle, and I was like, okay. I will. I'll keep it gentle. I'll go. I'll still try and do something because I'm just going through this phase of like trying to obviously keep my body moving as much as possible. So I feel like for myself, that phase definitely happens. Like I get very exhausted, and it's generally, I used to think it was I'm about to get my period, which you are, but it's like a whole week before that, really. So, yeah, I suppose with yourself, like since you've been kind of taking notice of this, would you say there's any phase that you feel like your energy is starting to deplete?
Yeah, definitely. I think you make such a good point there, Britt, because, and I mean, like, look, both of our memories are shot. So again, another disclaimer. I remember learning, like I did year 12 health. But I cannot remember. The only phases I remember learning about is your menstrual cycle and ovulation. That's it. So like I know, and this might sound so stupid, but only since my diagnosis and speaking to a couple of friends have I really started to kind of, I didn't even know there was a follicle phase or a luteal phase. So, yeah, definitely for me, learning more about the phases, I've definitely seen a shift in the luteal phase for me. That's really, it's funny because prior to endo, I had a lot of people who would comment on how tired I would look, and that was always, and that one of those people being you, obviously, but that would obviously you knew more. But that was definitely like the luteal phase. I'm definitely seeing like mood shifts during that phase as well, which is just so interesting, Britt, because I just think that like, again, and I don't know, you know, I mean, we should put it out there to see if anyone else kind of knew about these two phases. Obviously, health experts in particular would know, but like, you know, to I guess the suggestion to tailor your exercises and obviously your day to day to be more in sync with your cycle, I think is so important. We're not taught that at all.
No, like I do remember someone telling me about the luteal phase, if I've said that right. But like I said, I've only just started having my period regularly now. But before, I could go like 2 to 3 months without having a period. That's one of the reasons I had to do IVF, just because of the control of my cycle. So it was kind of hard for me to figure out. So I just kept going. Until like I would burn out probably and be exhausted and then have to take a few days off. So I think it's definitely important for people to be educated on it. And that's why like the apps like the Flow app is important, because then you can see what's actually happening in your cycle, what stage you're currently at. And it would be awesome if like an app like that would be, hey, you're in your luteal phase, and who knows, it might actually say that, or you're in your ovulation phase, maybe take it a little bit easier now. Because that is actually helping women understand what they need to do with their body at that time, and also to get the best result plus have great energy at the same time. Like it's actually going to just help us push us in the right direction in order to get the best out of our workouts and feel good about ourselves.
100%, and I think you make like two really important key things there. The first one being that I use the Apple Health app. And it's really interesting because it does tell me when my period is due, and it does tell me when I'm like high fertile, which is obviously ovulation. Doesn't say anything else. And that's what essentially we're taught for those two cycles. You know, I mean, naturally, you know, it kind of like from a societal perspective, they're obviously the two clear phases of the cycle.
Everyone knows about those cycles.
Exactly right, because obviously, you know, they're prepping your body for pregnancy and all that type of stuff. But I think it's so important of the other two phases. And the second thing, Britt, that you make comment, which I think is so important and why we're talking about this and why I dived into it, is that burnout. And again, I get goosebumps because it's like, you know, when you're fast-paced individuals, you're, you know, high achievers, you're driven and you're ambitious, you do get to this point where you like burn out, and then you're out for a couple of days. And, you know, for me in particular, I couldn't afford to do that anymore within my life, which is where I was like, right, well, I've got to be more aware of my body and how I'm feeling and adjust my lifestyle to that. And I think there needs to be a lot more education out there to do that, to I guess, you know, decrease the amount of times we in particular as females suffer from that burnout, because ultimately, naturally, unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to take it, this is something we can't stop naturally. You know, yeah, we can have you can go through ways of obviously stopping it, but there's a lot of talk now about, you know, why would we want to stop our bodies doing something that naturally happens. At the moment, there's nothing really, there's no proactive measures in place to stop that.
It actually blows my mind, like that we're talking about this more, right? Because it actually blows my mind there's not like constant education out there about it, especially because we're in this day and age, everyone goes to the gym, you know, like, and it would be great to actually know when you can push your hardest, right? And when you should take that step back for your body. And there's no education out there unless you go onto Google and you've looked into it or someone's told you about it, you know? And it's actually just blowing my mind the more you've just spoken about it.
But you're so right, because I guess there's two key points. One, I remember having a conversation with a girlfriend of mine, and she runs her own business. So she has to somewhat the flexibility, but she is a hardworking individual. And she made a comment which was so interesting. She was like, I will make sure every single day I have my period, I always have the day off, always. And she's like, that is my time to reset and also to look after my body. And like, old Amy would be like, nah, I can't do that. Like, I've got to push through. Whereas like new Ames, like, I'm like, you know what? She actually has a point, because it is a reset. She looks at it as, okay, cool, my body needs a reset. And I think the second,
that's so good.
Yeah. And like the second thing as well is like, and I'll be honest, like throughout this, my cycle this time was a lot longer than it normally is. And in the back of my mind, I go, oh, I'll just jump on the pill because I cannot afford to feel like this. The only reason why I say that is because okay, cool, I haven't seen a shitload of experts as of yet, but I've been told by multiple people, by GPs, by gynecologists, by, a fair few females around me, well, just jump on the pill. Yeah.
But it's a Band-Aid. That's a Band-Aid. That actually doesn't, and this is going on to another subject.
Yeah,
we're not talking about the 4 stages, but to actually find out what's going on with you, especially since you've had the surgery for the endo. For me, I think that's personally a Band-Aid, and we can talk about that another time. But just jumping on, if you want to be on the pill for safe sex and obviously not falling pregnant.
Why did you whisper that?
Whatever, I'm not quite sure. But just in case my mum's listening, that jokes. But if that's why you want to go on the pill, I get it. But if you're going on the pill to cover
masks, symptoms and stuff,
the symptoms of endometriosis or anything else, PCOS, that is just a Band-Aid to me. That's not actually fixing what's going on.
100%, and you're so right. And I think without going too off topic, bringing it back to the 4 phases, this is where I've come to the realization. I'm like, well, I've made a personal decision that I don't want to go down that route just of yet. So what are the natural things that I can do? And this is one thing, is looking at, okay, cool, well, exercise is a massive thing within my life, from a physical but much more of a mental. So how can I guess structure my own exercise plan to fit in with my cycle, essentially, really?
Do you, because other people out there, right, so not everyone goes to the gym every day. Not everybody, and you definitely do. You're someone that has to do something every single day. So maybe the people that don't do something every day probably wouldn't feel it as much. But when you do it, is there a time where you're I feel my strongest? And if you take a note of what that time is?
Yeah, I'm going through a bit of a phase at the moment, which is really interesting because I guess this recent cycle, I had a very strange ovulation phase.
Yeah,
which I can't pinpoint why. But my best workout this cycle was definitely the ovulation phase, but it wasn't in the gym. It was on a run.
So that might have been mind and physical, maybe.
Yeah, but I mean more. But I mean more from a PB perspective. So I had a very quick run during that period. But then I guess the cycle prior to that I had, and the last previous cycles, I've had very good strength training days throughout my luteal phase.
Really?
Yeah. So I don't know, because and I'm finding a lot more mood swings throughout my luteal phase, especially over the last couple of months.
Is that based on your app, or is that you actually knowing you were in that stage?
No, me knowing I was in that stage. So and I don't know whether or not it's more so a mental thing, where like I was really in like that C mood, and I was able to lift a lot heavier without being obviously more like energized. I don't know. But I mean, like, look, it's interesting, Britt, like, because it's.
I'm just thinking, sorry, I just don't want to interrupt you, but I don't want to go past it. But like, I was just thinking, you've had a longer cycle this time, right? So you're actually more tired. So you may have been affected that little bit more. But then the previous times you weren't really affected because your cycle was kind of on time, was it?
Yeah.
So that's where your luteal phase, you weren't as tight. So I wonder if it makes a difference. I don't know. I'm just diverting, but I'm actually just interested.
Well, I mean, like, if you look at this, like, article, it's really interesting because it says this is obviously where you start to lose steam. So you might notice that it takes longer to recover from intense workout. So this is where you can start to get cramps. You can obviously, your breasts start to get quite tender. But it says in here, listen to us, we're so mature. There's no way we can be nurses. It says focus on the types of exercises you enjoy to help manage emotional stress.
Wow.
So,
yeah, that's a good point because like we might be talking about the stages and the phases, but we're not adding the hormones into that either, right?
No.
So like you think everybody else like affected by hormones differently, and you add those in there and you want to kill someone at the same time, you can't go to the gym, like that's fucking hectic.
Oh, 100%. I know though, like, from a consistent perspective, where I'll have the best like strength or resistance training is through the follicle phase. So I know in a week's time, like on the weekend when my period's finished, I'll have an elite strength like training.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Session. Yeah. So, like, I don't know, like, it is interesting. Like I said, this cycle in particular has been a struggle. So my consistency on exercise and my actual training program has changed. Yes, I look at movement not as a chore, but an everyday thing. So I'm someone that I will take the stairs rather than lifts, and I suggest everyone do all that type of stuff. But I definitely moved a lot more from a walking and running perspective this cycle than actually like strength training. So again, I guess it's something to continue to journal on and, you know, us get experts to come in and chat further about it.
100%. I'm so glad you made me aware of this or reminded me about it for the last couple of months, because after obviously I had Mill, I just felt like I wanted to make sure my body was getting a bit more back on track. And I think the last couple have been timed very well, but like you just giving me that little bit of information along the way has kind of helped. So yeah, I feel like mine would be definitely the ovulation phase. I'm getting my most strength. Like I was pumping it, not last week, the week before, remember? Like I was going every single day, doing Pilates at night as well. So I had so much energy and strength at that point. But without you, I suppose I wouldn't have been reminded to like kind of look at that. So I'm grateful for that. But like, what would you say, like after just doing your own little research, what would you say women should kind of give themselves a little bit of a break, and at what time during their menstrual cycle? Or the 4 phases. Sorry, I worded that wrong, didn't I?
I definitely would say that like your menstrual phase.
Okay.
I think your luteal phase is your more, I guess, time to be aware of those emotions. So you start to wind down. Say, for example, you're someone who goes to the gym 4 days a week and it's your luteal phase, aim to go for 2 days. And then once you hit your menstrual cycle, your menstrual phase, you push back you push back in regards to maybe, you know, that whole week.
Going for the light walk or something like that.
Light walk,
yeah.
You do yoga, you do your Pilates. And again, it's completely different to everyone, Britt. But like, I mean, I've been training for so many years, and people will think that I train like super intense. I'm telling you what, right now, I used to go to the gym 7 days a week. I used to do 2 F45 classes, 2 body fit classes, twice a day in that week on top. So there were some weeks where I would go, like I would do 10 to 12 sessions.
But you're just more consistent now compared
And that's
to...
100%.
Yeah.
So like, and that's where I think like no matter how you train, rest and recovery is so important. And I think like that's something that like I've learned throughout the last couple of months as well, of being a lot more kinder to myself. Again, I know I am an individual who is consistent and looks at movement as a chore, which we like as not a chore. And I think that's really important to do. But it is about being kinder to yourself, understanding these phases and looking at it as a trial and error, because I'm still learning about it. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
And yourself, you're giving it a go. And I think it is important. I'm still trying to figure out that, because in the back of my head, I'm like, I'm training for high rocks. I want to do this. I want to do that. So it's like, I need to kind of fit
You're
that
like 20
all in.
phases in yourself.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
You're for it.
100%. But I think, for example, like, yeah, the most important phase where I think you need to really focus on that light movement is obviously your menstrual cycle. Menstrual phase. But moving your body, no matter what, I think is important as well. You know, I mean, like today, for example, I have hardly moved my body. Now I'll go for a walk just to get some fresh air. But the next couple of days for me, my training will look very different.
Yeah. Yeah, like I feel like I'm back to next week. I'll be hitting it hard and going again. So like I'm starting to get that warm up again, like you said. So it's so interesting, guys. Like, I feel like everyone should kind of get a little bit of journal, like Amy said, and kind of note it down. Like when your app comes up and it tells you what stage you're at, grab out your journal and kind of write down like how you're feeling. Like do you have energy? Do you have strength? How did you go at the gym? And kind of keep that little bit of a journal, and then see if it kind of happens the month later as well. Yeah, and then you'll get to know your body, and then you'll realize, okay, yeah, I gave my body that little bit of a rest during that menstrual cycle point. Now I can go all gun ho.
100%. 100%. And it just comes down to that awareness. And also we just want to increase awareness and reduce the amount of burnout and exhaustion. And I feel like this is a very natural and very simple way that can help assist that, you know?
Perfect. So what Amy and I will do, we'll try and like do a little bit of research, see if we can find someone to come on and actually help us out with this topic, or even if we just get a little bit of information and we can pop it in our community chat for you guys to follow.
Good idea.
But yeah, I think it's an awesome topic to make awareness about, Aim, so thanks for bringing it up, and we'll see you guys on Wednesday.
No worries. Bye.
Bye.
Before you head out, don't forget to download the Body Awareness Kit. It's free and filled with tools and support we know so many of us need. From hormone balancing to daily wellness routines to real advocacy tips for PCOS and endo. You deserve to be informed and empowered. Get your copy now at the landing page or tap in the link in the show notes.